Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help mental health professionals grow their dream practices and live a life they love. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building tips. We invite you to take advantage of our private practice paperwork and our signature marketing e-course. And we have a gift for you. This is the exact methodology we use to create our six-figure private pay practices and have helped many other therapists do the same. Go to privatepracticestartup.com and on the homepage, click the button to download a free copy of your dream private practice playbook. Now on to today's episode.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We are your hosts, Kate and Katie, and your guests today, talking about areas that we love the most, and we hope that you do too. Today, we're going to be diving into, well, I'm not going to give you the title just yet. I'm going to tell you what we talked about last week, and then I'll let you know what we're talking about today. How's that? So I hope you joined us last week as Kate and Susan Block, one of our coaches, hosted. And they talked about a really important topic that many of you are interested in knowing about, and that is how in the world do I onboard new clinicians to my group practice? So if you are in the process of creating a group practice, have one, and not really sure on how to onboard new clinicians in a way that's beneficial for everyone involved, you definitely want to listen to that. And it's cool because Kate and Susan give you different perspectives on how to onboard clinicians to an online practice as well as a brick and mortar practice. So don't forget to check that one out. And today we are going to be talking about tips on naming your private practice. Topic that we do enjoy talking about, and definitely we've made many mistakes along the way. So we'll be kind of sharing that and the evolution of names and why a name is important. So before we dive into that, let's take a quick moment for our sponsor.
Let's face it, the working world looks different than it ever has. Whether you're a brick and mortar private practice or an online practice, taking care of your team couldn't be more important. That's where Gusto comes in. Gusto's modern HR platform makes it easy to hire, pay, manage, and support your employees or independent contractors all in one place. That means no more jumping between applications and no more jumping through hoops. Your payroll benefits, hiring, and onboarding, team management tools, and so much more are all in one convenient place. On top of that, Gusto provides actionable insights to inform decisions around workforce costing, competitive compensation, and employee engagement. So all these tough decisions you make each day as a business owner just got a whole lot easier. The best part? Listeners of our podcast get 3 free months of Gusto by going to gusto.com/PPS.
Kate, where do you want to start on this one?
All right. This is such a good topic and something that every single private practice owner has to do, right? Everybody's got to come up with a name for their business. And oftentimes that is the first thing that people think that they need to do when starting a private practice. And it's actually not. Yes, a name is very important, and it is something that will stay with you for a very long time unless you rebrand or created a DBA. We can talk a little bit more about that further along. But what we want to actually invite you to do is to take a step back. So if you're new to private practice and you're just in the preparation planning process, that's great. If you know that if you're in private practice, you've already established yourself, you're not locked in. You can always rebrand. You can always change your name if you don't love your name, if you find that it's limiting. Maybe you are a solopreneur currently and you chose to use your own name because of life circumstances. Your name can change. So sometimes people go through divorces. Sometimes people decide they want to expand and have a group practice. Sometimes people do get sued. And it is important to think about that when using your own name for your business. So Katie and I, before you get decided on what your name is, just want to invite you to take a step back and really think about the bigger picture of your business. Where do you see your business growing and evolving? Where do you see it changing, and what is your long-term vision for your business? Do you want to stay a solopreneur forever? Do you want to maybe expand and become a group practice owner? Do you want to have a niche in a certain area, but maybe that niche evolves over time and you have new passions that you develop over the years that you're in practice? All of these things are important to consider at the time of actually coming up with your name.
And you know what? It's funny, Kate and I have many name stories to share on this, and we'll just share with you the story of the private practice startup, which legally our name is K2 Visionary. So K2 at the time represented Kate and Katie, but also K2 is the second highest mountain in the world. And we believe that, growing a business is kind of like climbing a mountain. It takes a long time, effort, strategy, and understanding. And also too, at the time, Kate and I, and we'll show you how the business has evolved, is that we were a statewide local training company here in Florida. And then we wanted to evolve because we had so many therapists asking us, how did we grow our successful private practices? And we really wanted a broader reach, which was a global reach. So we actually had changed our names through a DBA, which is a doing business as, to the private practice startup. So that's just a way to that shows you like what happened initially when we had an initial vision for our company, how it evolved, and that you can actually change your name through a DBA. But, Kate is inviting you all to take a step back. I know when I created my private practice, again, doing so many things, not in an order that it made sense at the time, right? Because I didn't have the business information and knowledge and know-how that I do now. But, it was looking very micro. Like Kate said, I needed a name for my practice. Interestingly enough, my last name, Lemieux, means the best or the better in French. And so I thought, Lemieux Solutions Unlimited, the best solutions unlimited. That sounds amazing. But it really didn't talk about anything that I did or do. And it's just very, just kind of abstract out there. And no one knows how to spell my last name anyway. So that's really frustrating. And then people would say to me when they use their credit card, like, I got this charge. I'm like, is that you? Because it had my business name. Now, if I said something like counseling or whatever, it would probably be much easier. So that's just another example of how maybe a name doesn't really work when you're just kind of thinking about yourself and just kind of creating a name out of thin air without really thinking about your growth, your development, your practice. One of the things that Kate and I talk about that most practice builders don't talk about is your vision, your mission, your culture, and your brand values. We're a little bit crazy and geeky when it comes to that, because when you're clear on your vision and mission and your brand values, as well as your culture, the decisions around your business get easier. And when you do focus on those things, you're really focusing on not only your clients, but you're really looking far into the future and what you're creating. And your vision and mission really should not only be made up of your clients, but of your staff, your team members. And even if you stay a solopreneur, you'll probably have team members, whether it's people supporting you with your website or AdWords or your accountant. And when you have these things in place, especially your brand values, making decisions about your business is easier. So it's hard work to find a name. Now, maybe you've always had a name in your heart forever since you were in high school and you knew you were going to be a therapist and you're just aligned to that. And that's amazing. Most of us don't have that. So really taking time to do work on creating your vision and your mission, as well as getting connected to your brand values, is really important. And the beauty of that is that you are then going to have a really cool name. Now, on the opposite spectrum, when I did that work, I actually was in the process of recreating my brand. And I actually went through a brand workshop that was very, very cool, very interesting, made me fall in love with branding. And the name was the last thing that we picked after we did all of this work on understanding the thoughts and the feelings and the trends of my clients and who my clients were and their pain points and their goals. And the name that we had created was called Brainbox, which was really super cool, totally innovative, totally different than anything else that I had heard of or anyone else really had heard of. Unfortunately, I didn't grow into that brand because I had an idea of having a group practice and there's all these other things around that. But I stayed a solopreneur. But I did go and create the brand and the website and things like that. And it was a very super cool brand. And that was kind of an example of, branding, naming done right after I had done the work to create that. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But before we continue, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor.
Practice Solutions is a full-service billing company that specializes in the mental health industry. They've worked with private practice clients ranging from solo practitioners just starting their practice to larger group practices with multiple clinicians. Practice Solutions has even helped a few of their clients to be able to grow from a single clinician to a thriving group practice with multiple locations. This is due to their mission of alleviating the burden of billing to free up your time so you can spend it with clients and on building your practice. Practice Solutions billers all have many years of experience in insurance billing and have helped clinicians to get stubborn claims to process, in some instances recouping thousands of dollars worth of claims. If you're looking for a friendly and reliable billing expert to add to your team, reach out to Practice Solutions by filling out a contact form at practicesol.com. That's practicesol.com/startupnation, or calling 734-437-9432 extension 709.
Is managing your practice stressing you out? Then try Therapy Notes. It makes notes, billing, scheduling, and telehealth a whole lot easier. Check it out and you will quickly see why Therapy Notes is the highest rated EHR on trustpilot.com. With over 1,200 verified customer reviews and an average customer rating of 4.9 out of 5 stars, you'll notice the difference from the first day you sign up for their free trial. They offer live phone support 7 days a week, so when you have questions, you can quickly reach someone who can help, and you're never wasting your time looking for answers. If you're coming from another EHR, they make that transition really easy. Therapy Notes will import your client's demographic data free of charge during your trial, so you can get going right away. Use the promo code PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, that's PPS, to get 2 free months to try out Therapy Notes for free with no strings attached. And remember, telehealth is included with every subscription, absolutely free. Make 2022 the best year yet with Therapy Notes. Well, I hope those stories were interesting and kind of give you some perspective of, what happens when you just pick a name out of thin air, but also then when you do the work of really creating a brand. Kate, thoughts?
Yeah, those are really great stories. And I have my own stories as well from early on in private practice. I can remember being I was in the master's program when I knew that I wanted to be in private practice. And then I had graduated and went on to get my PhD. And at the time, I was in this philosophical class learning about Bateson and all of these theories. And at the same time, I was launching my private practice, trying to come up with a name, and I named it Life's Connections. What the heck is that? It was so broad, so vague. And at the time I was like, I want to work with everybody and I'm going to, make this great impact in the world. But I had no business knowledge at the time. And this is when I very quickly learned that my naive belief that if you build it, they will come, it does not work. And so I went in this major mission to learn as much as I could and really fell in love with branding and marketing and all things entrepreneurship. And that's, kind of what brought Katie and I together with how we launched our initial business that she was telling you about earlier. So I actually dissolved that company not too long after I had started, and I created Bayview Therapy, which is the DBA for my original name, which was Bayview Therapeutic Services. And what I want to tell you all is to keep it simple. Don't get wordy with your name. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep it clear. And you want it to be something that your ideal clients, the people that you are called to serve, even if your niche grows and evolves and you have multiple niches that you're in at some point in time, or you expand in a group practice and serve many different types of people, you want to keep it simple. You want it to be something that your ideal clients will know what it is so that it's clear to them, and that it also works when it comes to the SEO side of things, the search engine optimization, with speaking the lovely language of Google, which we call being Googleicious here. And so with the word counseling or therapy in it is very helpful when just being clear with your brand, and then also for the keyword points when it comes to search engine optimization. So when you're taking the time to really think through what your name is going to be, or you're rebranding and renaming your business, we want to encourage you to think about the different aspects that we've talked about here, and really doing the work with your vision, your mission, your culture, your brand values, and thinking about your short-term and your long-term goals with how your brand will evolve and who you will serve and who you will be, 5-10 years down the road. And to really do that work now to set yourself up for success so that you will have less work to do later on. Katie, anything else that you want to add?
Well, I was just going to add another perspective on kind of the naming process. I know you're talking about SEO, so that's definitely one thought. And then you might have like a very, branded name that your name actually has a brand story, right? And so that's the other aspect of that, right? So like Brainbox had a brand story, and you'll see that I don't remember what the company does, but Lemon Pie was their name. No, they did not bake lemon pies. Actually, they were a podcast company, if I remember correctly. And being someone who likes branding, I was like, how did you come up with your name? And it was this whole like interesting thing. And it was a very interesting story. So either your company has a name, and we see this a lot with brands who are one name, like Amazon, and then all these interesting tech companies have all these interesting names, but there's usually a story and an understanding behind that. So just offering a different perspective on also naming your practice as well. But SEO definitely provides so much value. And I think the thing that we want you guys to take away most is that just like us, you can always change your name at any time. So you can change your identity, you can change your name. It's all great. But it does get a little bit harder if you are already established, because you're changing your name and you have to update all the things all over the place, but it is definitely doable. So wherever you are in your practice, it's perfect. It's great. If you're just starting out, then, take this information and utilize it so you can avoid some of the pitfalls and pain that we had gone through. And, if you're already established or you're in the middle and you want to do a name change because you have a different view of where you're going in your private practice, that's cool too. Just make sure you know exactly what to do legally to change your name. And other stuff that we've talked about too in the past is trademarking. And we'll go ahead and actually link. We did a podcast with an attorney on that. So if you're at a place where, you're growing and you want to trademark your name, you definitely want to make sure you take the protections legally to do that as well. So we'll pop that link into the show notes if you guys are interested in listening to that episode. Kate, anything else?
Yes, just once you are clear on your name and you do the work to get incorporated, you obviously want to make sure that you grab your website domain as well before somebody else snags it up. So if it happens to be available, that's something that's really helpful to just go ahead and do. So those are 2 additional tips once you're clear on what your name is. So good luck in the naming process. We hope this podcast was helpful for you. And we want to take a moment for our Startup Nation superhero shout out for today's episode, which comes from Kanya Cassard. And Kanya says, becoming a therapist and a business owner was not something that school or internships taught me. I needed to become an entrepreneur too. The content in Kate and Katie's podcasts, newsletters, and other products were the things I didn't know I needed and wished I had access to 10 years ago when I was first starting out. They stay up to date with the latest laws and adjust their documents and content as needed, which is great because who has time to do that as a solo practitioner? Their guidance and courses are what we all need post-therapist graduation. Thank you so much, Kanya. It was so nice to hear your feedback. We appreciate you taking the time to let us know, and we are cheering you on every step along the way. Startup Nation, we hope you enjoyed this episode and encourage you to subscribe, rate, and review our show. You can do so on our show notes page, and we will look forward to seeing you on the next episode. In the meantime, stay inspired, everybody. Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.